had them just for fun. But that first bird that I had, I actually like taught him to talk some certain words, and he will go like up a ladder and like move certain stuff and pick up stuff here and there, and like, yeah. he's
Pechra is in my hands. The katana is very jealous.
He's just learning to fly.
Welcome, Darshan, to our studio.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me and having me here.
So, Darshan, we just had a training session with Katana.
Yeah.
So you're the guy that she likes to bite.
Yes. So yes, in fact.
How long have you been doing dog training?
Well, dog training has been part of my life, my whole life. Since I was born, my dad is a vet. And then he started being a dog trainer or doing dog training a little bit before I was born.
So your dad was doing the dog training, so your dad, this went way back now to, this was actually in the US, or this is where we?
This is in Mexico. So
okay.
I'm from Mexico. Okay. Yeah, I've been living here for 6 years.
6 years?
Yes. And my whole life has been in the dog world, dog competitions, sport dogs, and all kind of dog things related in Mexico, in Mexico City.
Okay. So like dogs in Mexico, like, is this, are people treating dogs in Mexico like professional dogs? Because I know that your grade of training is very different because Katana is biting you and doing stuff. So how are dogs in Mexico?
So this is actually a very good question. The culture of dogs in Mexico, I believe, has changed so much in the last 10, 15 years maybe. Dogs have become more like they are seen here, part of the family, like one more member of the family, you know? And 10, 15 years ago in Mexico, it was not like that at all. We're known for having dogs out in the yard or in the roof of the houses. You know, they normally live in the azotea. That's how we call it.
The what, azotea?
Azotea. Or yeah, it's like the roof of the house, and there's access to it, and the dog just live there, you know, and they have a house there, and you put them water and food, and that's how people normally used to have the dogs back in the 90s and stuff like that. And little by little, it has changed to where the dogs are becoming more part of the family and doing stuff with people, getting more involved in training and feeding them better and looking for better stuff for them. So yeah, that has changed for sure a lot.
So like over there, so people are just throwing the dogs on the side. Is it to protect a burglar breaking in, or this is to protect?
Yes, normally, yeah. People like probably thinking like, yeah, having a dog to protect the property, or just having a dog because you have a dog, but that's the way you have a dog. The dog just lives outside in the yard, and they normally don't come in. But now that has changed totally.
So growing up then, so your dad is a vet, right? So he's doing all this vet stuff. You growing up. What are you seeing? How's your life with a dad being a vet? Did you think that you were going to be a vet too?
So yeah, initially that's what I wanted, and that was like my dream when I was a little kid, you know, because when I was little, my dad stopped working as a vet in a place, and started just doing like in-home stuff because he turned more into dog trainer. So before he was working as a vet and just amateur doing dog training. And then around when I was born, he swapped them. So he kept doing kind of like just like on the side, going to houses to vet. And then he started working more as a dog trainer and started doing his company in the late 80s.
So he transitioned into vet to dog training because he found it was just time. He was tired of the vet work.
He was tired of being inside a building, working inside a building as a vet. So he wanted to be more outside with his dogs and doing like that he had found for the last years that he enjoyed to do.
So seeing
he actually started with like Dobermans,
did he?
Yes, and German Shepherds, Rottweilers. That was back in the day.
So seeing your dad do this, right? So this is what actually brought in the passion for you. So this started was did you try to do this as seeing him? You tried to do this too then?
Yes, I did it. I did.
We'll get to the bird in a second.
He can't wait.
So you're seeing your dad now. You growing up. So now, when do you think you're going to be a dog trainer? When do you think that you're going to have a passion for animals? Because you have a big passion for animals, and when we've spoken privately, you've obviously expressed this.
Yeah. So I think my passion for animals has always been there. For any kind of animal, you know, I've always have different kind of animals, from little like hamsters and guinea pigs, ferrets, and any kind of things. And like I was saying, like with my dad being a vet and just being like a vet in the afternoons, that was like a lot of what I was doing. I will go with him to these appointments and kind of like help him, you know, and just
poke the dogs and
be
poke
next
the
to
animals?
him, and just like he will do like really like just checkups on the dogs or like low key stuff, vaccinations and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
So that will always like I always like that. I always enjoy being around dogs, and then being like starting to go into dog training, that became my passion. Absolutely. Being able to like to play with a dog the way that they were trained in that time, because we were doing right away, we're doing dog sports.
Yeah.
And it's like a
So
very
this is in Mexico, right? You're
this
doing
is
dog-
all in Mexico, and this is so the year that the dog sport that we practice, which is called French ring sport.
French ring.
French ring.
Okay.
It's the same year that I was born, in 1986.
Okay.
And then my dad was around the people that were practicing the sport in Mexico. So basically I was born and raised on the sport because the first trial in Mexico was in 1989, 1990.
What's the expectation with French ring? What does it do? Like, what do you do? What's the expectation?
Well, French ring there are different countries in the world that have developed working dogs for their service, and different styles of work have each country, from the Belgian work, the Dutch work, the German work, and the French work, which is the one that we do. French ring kind of turns itself separate from the rest as working dogs, as when they work, we have three different phases. Okay. The first one is jumping or agility. We have the same issue again. Don't worry, it's her. She's gonna want to like.
I think Katana's half dead right now. Okay, so
there you go.
French ring. So the jumping is a part of this, right?
So yeah, it's divided in three parts:
Okay.
jumping, obedience, and then the bite work.
Okay.
And the main difference in French ring is the dog is allowed to bite in any part of the body.
Okay.
You know, so it's kind of like a police work dog that works in three different ways to kind of like show their versatility and their agility, then to show their obedience to their handler, and finally to show their courage and fears to apprehend somebody or something that is happening.
Okay, so you're saying the dog can bite anywhere, right? So you're saying ankle, you're saying leg, you're saying
Anywhere.
arm, you're saying private.
Yeah, so yes, everywhere. So basically, what we do is the decoy or the homme assistant, which is how it is called in France, or it's like the helper.
Okay.
Wears a suit that goes from here all the way to the toes.
Yeah.
And all of that suit is padded, and the dog can bite in any part of it.
Okay.
You teach the dog mainly to bite on the legs or maybe on the chest, maybe arms.
But now with Katana, you're making her bite your arm, right?
Right. Because what we're doing with her is something more of like more of a real situation, you know.
Okay.
And what we're doing in the sport, it has diverted a little bit out from being like something real into being something more of a sport, you know. Okay. And the way it's been developed due to the competition and all the trainers that are out there, and you know, all that stuff, it has become to be that the best part for them to bite in sport is on the legs.
Got it. So like this perfecting this obviously is how this is graded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but to get a dog to communicate with you, because most people are literally having the dog lead them, and you see people who can't control their dogs, and you have to hold the dog to a very high standard. What makes that work? Like, how do you make it like the dog listen to you, care for you, or follow what you're saying? Because most people I see, they're walking the dogs, and the dog is pulling them, and you see their legs in a bush sticking out, right? Like,
yeah.
What helps you? What gets the control? Like, what is it?
I think it's all about respect and being fair with the dog. You know, dogs are I believe that they have the capacity to adapt themselves. They have a very high adaptation to situations, you know, and they can just like adapt to whatever you show them to do, and whatever they get used to do or work on, they are like they just get good at, you know.
Yeah.
So the fact that they have that, I think that if you believe in that and you trust them like that, guiding them becomes easy because they have the capacity of doing it. It's just a matter of they trusting you,
Yeah.
and finally it's gonna come out. You know, it comes out because it's you're working at the end of the day with instincts of the dog, and we're working with situations that in their lives, in their natural lives, will trigger them to perform certain behaviors, and we just put them in a picture to do our benefit or whatever we're training them to do.
How long do you take to train it? Like, how long do you take to get your dog ready for this French ring?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of time.
Yes, French ring. I mean, you can train a dog. Let's say something correct. You can train a dog from 8 weeks old, 10 weeks old, start their training, and the dog can be ready a year old.
But you started literally as their puppies, right? Like
Literally at 10 weeks.
So you
start training, yes. And training it's all about modern training it has changed, it has revolution so much. You know, training today, and I'm not saying that before it wasn't done like that, but I think on a lower scale it was done. Now it's more general. We've talked about social media and like how everything has like has made everything bigger. So yes, the dog training and the sports has become like a lot more out there, you know.
So you see people with puppies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people don't normally start with the puppy because I want to hug the puppy. So like I get katana and I'm going like this. I'm not practicing no sit or stay or doing this stuff. Do you think that that's just because people want a cuddly dog when they get them, or do you think it's like people like people who just say now they come to you and say, hey, make my dog sit and walk by me? Do you think it's because people are cuddling their dogs too much or treating them like babies too quickly? Or do you think that they should start? I mean, just curious.
I think that, yes, a lot of the issues in dogs, in pets, can stem from that point, from being overprotective. And we call it helicopter parents, you know? And it happens the same with dogs. It's exactly the same. People become overprotective to their dogs. They want to be with them all the time. They want to meet all their needs all the time, which is correct. But sometimes they overload the dogs on that. And then we lose that importance and that leadership from the dog because the dog doesn't need us. Okay. So yes, a lot of situations kind of stand from that point totally, of being like too much with the dog or giving too much to the dog. It's important because dogs, they live in, naturally they will live in a pack. And there's always hierarchies, you know, and everything is divided and everybody respects all the situations within the pack, you know. There's rules within the pack. And if we treat dogs the same way, they feel good, they feel comfortable because that's what they're used to. And what happens is when we give them everything, that is not met. Those needs are not met. And the dog starts showing problems. So go ahead. So yeah, just going back to the sport, like talking about like working a dog for pet and working a dog for sport, like I was telling you, sport takes a lot more detail and development in whatever you're teaching the dog. And it's just because everything is going to be dissect by the judge and by the jury to kind of like get the best dog out of the trial, where you go against 10 to 25 dogs in a trial.
Now, does it make a difference what type of dog? Because can someone do this with a Labrador?
Oh yes, actually yes. There's a few cases. Of course, if there's certain breeds that they have been genetically developed by hundreds of years by breeders all around the world.
Which breed specifically do you think this is for? Like what breeds do you see like the most common?
Today, in these kind of sports, I'm going to say the number one is Belgian Malinois.
And what's number two?
German Shepherd. Maybe number third, Dutch Shepherd. And then after we
hopefully
have
Dobermans make it too on the top 5.
we have Dobermans. I'm gonna say maybe Rottweilers over there, boxers. And I'm gonna say maybe those are like the main breeds in those sports.
So Belgian Malinois, obviously, like we saw it on TV, right, with John Wick, and Halle Berry has two Malinois who run up the wall, and then someone's got one that's standing on a string. But before this, I didn't even hear the name Belgian Malinois.
Oh yeah. When I was young, they used to call them like dogs from the market, like from the street market in Mexico. You know, like people were like, "What is that kind of dog? What is that dog?" You know.
So when
they will thought it was like a German Shepherd mix.
That's what I thought. So I thought, okay, yeah, there's a German Shepherd mix, but now everybody and the uncle want a Belgian Malinois. But then I think
they became popular.
Yes,
and that's the same that has happened to these guys and to Rottweilers, you know, and German Shepherds. And sadly, what happens is that they become popular, and then people start doing some kind of breedings that they have no idea what happened, what they're doing, and then the dogs are not the same quality and the same development of the breed. You know, what sports do, what we practice, it's a genetically program to develop genetically the best qualities in the breeds. You know, to better the dog breeds. And in this case, the working dog breeds. And there's other sports that work with other kind of breeds. You know, we have agility, that is like jumping. You know, we have obedience. We have nosing, like searching.
So you like when people get like a normal person gets a Belgian Malinois in the house because John Wick makes it look popular. Where do these dogs normally end up? I mean, do they?
Sadly, right now there's a lot that end up in the shelters.
But that's because these dogs require a lot of exercise, right? These are dogs that are little.
Yeah, it's absolutely not a dog that I will ever recommend to any of my clients to have as a pet.
Okay.
I will never recommend that because they're working dogs, and like I was telling you, there's development in these breeds for over 100 years, doing like appropriate matches between males and females to develop these working dogs that they're used today as with the qualities that they have. So when you take one of those dogs out of that working scenario and you put him in a house, well, he's gonna start chasing your kid, what they're playing in the house. He's gonna try to go after everybody because he doesn't know what to do with himself. You know, he's gonna be too contained that he's gonna need to find a way to express all of that energy that he has. And if you don't give it a proper cause, then it's most likely gonna create problems to you.
Interesting.
So what has happened is like all the shows that have showed them have made them popular now, and they're all out there now. Wow. They're all out there. They're now like even breeding them for the color. They want the dark ones, you know, because they're the coolest ones.
I was almost on the list of people wanting a Belgian Malinois. That was actually what's going to happen after Katana. And then I thought, okay, I want these two to have babies together.
Like you have a better way of to have a Doberman today as a pet than a Malinois, for sure. You could have a Malinois. I'm not saying you could not. You need to put much more work on it. Like a lot more work, you know?
So now my two dogs, obviously you've seen Enzo because Enzo failed in his training. You failed him with an F.
He's not failed. He's not failed. He's just very gentle. We'll say like that. Gentle.
And then Katana, you think Katana and him are both opposites?
Yes, absolutely. Katana is a very nice dog. Absolutely.
So Enzo, we briefly spoke about my story with Enzo, how Enzo literally came into my life and I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to get him and I'm going to end up getting rid of him. But he was perfect dog, followed me, slept at night, made no noise, potty trained himself, did everything. He sits on a chair, like literally sits on a chair. Like Enzo had a very special connection for me. Like seeing like connections with other people's dog, where do you feel like dogs fit into people's lives on a personal level, not just a working? Because I know you said that you have a Belgian Malinois, but then you have a dog for yourself too, right?
Yes.
Why do you do that? Because people think a dog is a dog, but it's not. For you, it's different, right?
Yes. So working or living with working dogs and being raised with working dogs all the time, I always had this like rules with my dogs, right? So I couldn't do like pet stuff with my dogs because that was not in the logic in those times about dog training. It was not productive for the competition dog. So competition dog should be treated as a competition dog and not as a pet dog. And yes, there's certain rules that should apply like that, but now I do things differently and they still work good. So basically what happened is maybe around when I was 15, something like that, after having all this time with working dogs. I was like, I'm tired of having just working dogs. I want a dog just for me. So I started looking around. I like Australian cattle dogs. But then at the end of the day, they were like same, like very working dogs. They're little dogs. They're maybe 30, 40 pounds. They're not very big. And they were with cattle to move cattle, So they're pretty tough, tough animals. And then I came across border collies. And they blew my mind. I saw border collies working in Mexico with a Canadian guy that was working with geese, and he was herding geese with his dog, this black and white dog that looked just like the dog from Babe, the movie Babe.
Yeah. You're talking about the pig, right?
Yeah, not the pig, the dogs, the ones that teach the dog, they teach the pig. Exactly.
I was gonna say the dog looked like the pig Babe, and I was like, man, that's a weird-looking dog.
Yeah, so I was amazed by this. I was like, wow. And all he was using was a whistle. He had like this whistle that it will go in his mouth, and he will make different tones of whistle. And that was the way he will make the dog go to one side, go to the other, down, come here, go away. And all of this, like for a half an hour or an hour, moving the dogs around this place, So I was like, wow, that's amazing, And then I started doing more research about border collies and what they're doing and stuff. And they were just coming into Mexico. They're from the border and, from England and Scotland.
Okay.
Right in the border.
Okay.
That's why they're called border collie.
Got it. Okay.
So then I found one of my friends that practice the same sport that we do.
But you're seeing the intelligence in the dog,
Yes.
right? Because I think that we underestimate how smart dogs are, but we just treat them like nothing, right? Because even me, I had a dog before them, and I thought dog goes in the garden. I do this a couple of times, and then I let him run around, take him for a quick walk, put him in the garden, and
that's the dog's life.
That's the dog's life.
Yeah, totally. And I think there's a lot more that, like me, by interacting with them every day, almost I'm gonna say every day of my life. There's been a few weeks that I haven't had dogs around me in my life, but every time else I have dogs with me. You get to understand and you get to learn so much from them, and they have so much more to give than people. I think now it has changed a lot, but people probably still a few years ago they were not so into them. I believe that now social media and like all of these viral videos of dogs doing like amazing things and stuff has made people understand that there's a lot more than we can do with our dogs, and that is gonna enrich our relationship and the bond that we have with them, and we can enjoy them a better way, because that's the purpose for me of the dog training, is to be able to get the best and the most out of your dog, and enjoy your dog and be able to take them places and not worry about things.
But you also do the normal, like letting the dog sit and make the basic stuff that people don't even have the basics.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard with some people, because I think also the patience, because you have a lot of patience even with the dogs when you're training, the patience that you have to do this, because time keeps flowing and the dog's not doing it. Dog's not doing it. Dog's not doing it. Man, dog's not doing it. Come on, dog, do it. Come on, dog. Please, please, please do it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the dog just about did it. Yeah. And then it starts up the excitement.
And you see like everything clicks in, you know? And it happens when you're developing some dogs, and you're training with them and you're working certain stuff and you're like, well, this is not clicking in for now. This is not clicking in for now. And you try different methods to try and to teach the same thing, And then all of a sudden, like a few months after it happened, and everything magically comes together, and then you have your picture. Because that's a lot how we do. We like train we like fragment the behaviors in the dogs, and you teach this big behavior in these little mini parts, and then you bring them all together to create the whole thing.
So don't just have a dog to put sunglasses and a cell phone and put him on the driving seat of the car and take some Instagram pictures.
That's
that's very popular nowadays.
Oh yeah. I used to live in Arizona, and this is funny. There was a guy that he always used to come to this park that it was close by where I used to live, and he had his motorcycle with a sidecar, and he will have his doodle sitting on the sidecar with his goggles and then his helmet and everything, and then that will just go on the sidecar,
and,
you know.
and it goes viral because everybody now
Yeah.
buys the sidecar, buys the goggles.
Yeah.
Everyone's in competition with each other.
Yeah, and then they want to ship so many goggles down here.
So I think that that's actually a part of where the people just trying to do it for the show, right?
Yes.
And this is where they get the dog for the wrong reason, and the dog now becomes a pest to them because they only need the dog for 5 minutes.
Yes.
So they should just borrow my dog, take the pictures, and return my dog afterwards, right?
Exactly. That's a great point. People underestimate how much they're gonna need to put to work with their dogs, and I'm talking about any kind of dog, because from a little dog, a small dog, they all need to do something, and they all need to be actively using their bodies and their brain into something. Otherwise, they're gonna have problems. They're gonna want to do something else. You know?
Okay. So your love for animals, obviously, you have the bird. What was the bird's name?
Pitre.
Pitre.
Pitre. Yeah, pitre. It's French, and it means clown.
Clown.
Yes.
So what made you get the bird?
Well, he's actually, I'm not sure right now. Like, my memory sometimes is not very well. I think I had 4 or 5 of them before. Not the same class of bird, but I have different kind of parrots.
Okay.
My first one was like, we call them like midget parrots.
Okay.
So it looked like a big parrot, you know, like a big green, like a big parrot, normal parrot.
Yeah.
From the Amazon.
Okay.
But they were just short,
Okay.
like a little bigger than him. And that was my first one. His name was Pericles.
Okay.
I don't even know why I named him like that.
So you like the names with the P's as well?
Because you know my dog, Pacheco. Well, the names, this is something fun. It's a fun fact. From this, and this comes from the sport. And I apply it to my animals. I think he's the first, and my cat that I have right now, they're the first that I don't apply that rule. So within the sport, in French ring and in France, we named our dogs with 1 letter every year, and we go with the alphabet.
Interesting.
So that way you know in what year the dog was born. So that's why my dog Pacheco, right now this is the year of the S. Pacheco is from the year of the P. So you know exactly that he's 2 years old.
Got it.
PRS.
So what's the next one that's coming then?
And then this year is S. So he should be named S. So probably his name is S apostrophe Pitre. So that way I can keep following my rule about that. And it's just an easy way that I apply to all my animals to know when they were born.
What year they were? That's how you keep track.
What year they were born. Yeah. We do it with all the competition dogs in France mainly.
So okay, so you were saying, we spoke earlier about how the intelligence of birds. Because for me, I think I see a bird and I see a bird. Like I see a bird. I don't think much. I see a parrot talk sometimes on TV and stuff, but I don't see much. But you were saying that the intelligence of the birds are underestimated too.
Yes. There's. I mean, I don't really know as much about birds as I know from dogs. Clearly, I've had them just for fun. But that first bird that I had, I actually taught him to talk some certain words, and he will go up a ladder and move certain stuff and pick up stuff here and there and he's
Pechra is in my hands. The katana is very jealous.
He's just learning to fly. He's learning all these things, these good things. I think what's happening is maybe the lights or maybe the time of the day. He's wanting to go to bed. That's why he's so motile, and he just ate too. So yeah, they're very smart, and there's a lot of things that you can teach them. And I'm actually now reading more about this. Is a conure, green cheek conure, and I've been reading more about them. And there's a lot of things that you can play with them and work with them. So yeah, that's for sure in the plans. Working with him and exploring more about. If you need patience with a dog, with an animal like this, you need a lot more patience, and you need, it helps you to sharpen your skills as a dog trainer too. There's trainings that they happen with chickens for dog trainers.
I was going to mention the chickens that you had and how you would have the dogs, testing the dogs, right? What would you do with those? Yeah,
so chickens, I've used chickens, again, my whole life. My dad used to have chickens there in Mexico. And we actually had a pretty nice flock one time. We had 10, and they were friendly. They will go to people just like him, you know. And it's not very common to have chickens like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we always use them as a distraction for the dog. So immediately when a dog sees something running away and moving fast, their prey drive kicks in, and you know, because Katana has a pretty good prey drive.
Is that why Katana's thinking about salt and pepper on top of
yes,
Beth right now?
totally. The moment
But
he
she's not
moves,
going crazy like
well, because she's very well trained.
But what was actually nervous about you coming here was Katana jumping over the table and getting you, because
trying to get
you're
me.
normally shaking her up outside.
Yeah, but the thing, all of this training and all of this work, what you're working for the dog is you creating a balance on the dog. I related like in people like to martial arts. Yeah. You know, it's not just the fact of teaching the dog to attack for attacking or to use their mouth for using their mouth. The dogs learn control and they learn how to use it, but at the same time, they learn to be in control and they learn to be respectful about it. Okay. And that brings confidence and trust in themselves. And that is not gonna make them react in crazy ways.
Got it.
Because they're gonna keep that balance on them, you know? So I'm really not like, there's no fear, or I'm not afraid. I can go and pet her and I know she's gonna be good because she's very well trained. She was trained with elevated canine, and she's the rules that she knows are very well established on her, you know. So it's pretty good.
So back to your dog training, right? So you have the Malinois, you're training for competitions. When is your next competition?
So I've been off competitions for a while. Okay. My last dog, I retired him in 2016.
At what age?
10 years old.
10 years old?
Yeah, well, he was, at that time, he was 7 years old. He's 10 years old now. I retired him. I did my last championships in Mexico. And then I moved here, did a few trials here in the States with him, and then I retired him. At the time, I had a younger dog that I worked. I trialed just to the lower levels of the sport, because the sport is divided in 4 categories. Yeah. Brez, which is like the entry level, and then you have level 1, level 2, and level 3. So I did Brez and level 1 with that dog, that young dog. And then he was a good competition dog, but it was, I don't know, I didn't have the feeling with him in life, you know?
So this is the spiritual connection you're feeling with the dogs now, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And that's something that for sport, I now value so much. The connection and the relationship that you have with the dog. And of course, there's so much that you can build with a dog, but of course, there's also something that you cannot build.
So it's like with Enzo. I have a very strong connection with Enzo. As much as he failed your test, I have a very strong connection. And I come home, he's sitting on the dining room table. He's waiting for me. Katana, I think, is a great dog. I think she's really good. But there's a different connection I have with her. She's a good dog, and I love her for being a good dog. But Enzo is the dog that I want to carry around. But he's
your baby.
He's like a baby.
Yeah. Exactly, he's the one you have the connection with. Yeah. And that's what happens, you know. Like, we go back to what we're talking about. Like when I moved to the border collies, that was the reason why I wanted to do that, because I had the working dogs. Not that they're always like that, but they're more on this side, you know. They're more on like, well, I do my own stuff, you know, and stuff like that. So I wanted to have a dog more of like a pet and like having with me. And there's where I have this border collie that was completely different than the Malinois that I had before. They were very smart. And at the end, he ended up doing sports.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was a funny story.
You know, they also say that, you know, like dogs take a lot of the emotions and the physical problems that we have. Like, people believe that the dogs can take like the feelings that we have. Like Enzo came at the right time in my life. Literally, he brought me back to earth. Like, literally, like the emotions of that dog. Like, literally, I was crying one day with Enzo, and I said, "Man, what's this dog doing to me?" Normally, a dog for me, there was no connection. I go, "Man, what's wrong with everybody holding these dogs and being so emotional?" But I think that spiritual connection of us transferring energy to our dogs. Like, I think it's in the leash too, right? We say, hey, relax your body. The dog's feeling you. You're tense. Dog's tense. You know.
Yeah, totally. I see it every day, you know. I see it every day when dogs are training. You can see what's going on with that relationship with their owner, and sometimes even with the owner emotions.
Yeah.
You know, because you transfer everything through the leash, and the dog feels you. There was a very good trainer that I learned so much from. He's from France, and he used to say, "Your dog, your mirror."
Your dog, your mirror.
And that's very true. You know, whatever your dog is reflecting, it's whatever you have back there. You know.
You know, when you're dog trained, like sometimes do you see like the mirror of seeing people? Like, does this really pop out in your mind now? Like when you're watching people, because now obviously you're not just watching the dog, you're watching the people. Like, is this really like in your mind, like a real focus of looking at the people more than looking at the dog?
Yes, I'm gonna say I do that more when I'm working with behavioral issues, when I'm working like behavioral modifications with dog. If I'm working with a dog that is like, let's say, acting normal, you know, he has no issues, he's good, he's outgoing, he wants to play, he wants to eat food and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I focus more on the dogs, and I just go and I just get the people into that flow. But when I'm working more with changing some behavioral issues on the dog and some problems that the dog has as a background, then yes, I try to see more of the people, because that's going to tell me a lot of what's happening with the dog, for sure.
So the human problems are more complicated than the dog problems.
I'm going to say yes. Yes, totally. Yeah, I'm going to say just as beings, dogs are way much easier than humans. Probably that's why I work with dogs. I enjoy to be with them so much.
Have you ever been bitten by a dog?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
like was it a
multiple
bad
times.
bite, or do you get upset? Bad dog? Or what's the reaction?
I really am gonna say, like, I've never had like a crazy bite.
Yeah.
Like I've had multiple bites, but never something that is like, oh, like crazy, you know. Okay. But
are you upset when you get bitten? Like, are you upset that you allowed that to happen, or you didn't move fast enough? Like
normally,
the karate techniques.
I'm gonna say that normally when you get bit, if you get bit by a dog, it's because you passed a certain line. You were unfair to the dog most of the times, unless it's an accident or it's a dog that is completely aggressive, and then you have to be cautious about it, you know. But if it's a dog that is not showing any problem, and then by some reason you get bit, there's something that created that bite, you know. And I'm always about being respectful to the dog and trying to understand what's happening and where are you coming from, and why is this coming, or where is this coming from, you know. So if a dog bites you, yeah, of course, probably the immediate reaction is try to correct the dog and try to get the dog off you, for sure, and you're gonna correct him. But why does this is happening, you know?
But when you make me let Katana go, so I let Katana go, and she comes running towards you like, and she just goes flying onto your arm. How do you know she's gonna bite you on the arm?
Oh, well, that's just, I don't know. That's just
you just expect it
it's
to
just
bite you.
it's just natural. No, it's just hard. It's just hard to explain it. It's just I've done it for so long time. So the first time that I started like getting into the whole suit to work dogs, I was around maybe 10 years old, you know. And my dad will have some of his dogs that were like old and retired, and they were slow, and they will go and bite me, and I will do this. We will do like these demos in like a dog expo in Mexico.
Yeah,
we'll go every year there, and so I think that just made me make the bites be part of me, you know. Like, it's just I don't feel like any fear. I don't feel like the dog is gonna go somewhere else. I know that I can target the dog, and the dog is gonna go there because it's natural. I feel it.
How much damage do you think, if a dog was really biting and you see, like, how much damage can a dog really physically do to someone?
Oh, a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yes. A dog that knows how to bite, it can make damage to somebody for sure. Yeah.
So it's good protection for the house, right? Or
yeah. Because
now what happens is a burglar breaks in. I think in California, a burglar breaks in. The dog attacks the burglar. They go and take your dog away.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's what it's important is like there's a lot of like regulations and having dogs like that. So it's just important always to keep control on the dog, and always you need to understand that a dog that you are training like that, you need to manage it and to control it in a different way, not just like a normal dog. You know, it has to have different rules in life, for sure. That's important to have the responsibility of owning a dog like that.
Got it. So back onto breeds, you had mentioned that like with different breeds for different people, right? So like obviously I have a Doberman, and obviously it's some people think a Doberman is an aggressive, or they think it's an aggressive, but they're like big babies at home. Like should what sort of person is going for a Doberman versus someone going for a Labrador, like or a Pomeranian? Like, what do you think like a normal person should go get a Doberman, or is it something that you think should be more controlled? Or pit bull even?
I should totally think that people should do more research about what kind of dog they're gonna get before they actually get the dog.
Got it.
I think that normally people go by look.
Yes.
And what will they like better, and what is gonna look better in my house, and what I'm gonna look better walking in the street, and that's how they choose their breed. And I don't think that's a good way to choose a breed, unless an individual from a litter.
Got it.
The main thing to pick a dog, I think it should be the temperament of the dog, the capacity of the dog, the qualities of the dog, the needs of the dog. So that way we can understand if we can meet those, and then we can own that dog.
Right.
Because if we just go for the look and then we go to the leader and we're like, okay, we live in an apartment, but we like Saint Bernards. So we go and see a litter of Saint Bernards. And then we see this Saint Bernard puppy that is like pushing every puppy away and just eating himself and jumping on us. And every time other puppy come to us, he tries to push him away and stuff. And it's like, oh, look, he loves us so much and he's just pushing everybody away. And we take this puppy to the house and we have little kids on an apartment. It's a Saint Bernard that has like resource guarding issues, So you just set yourself for the worst cases
it's
scenario.
like a degree you need to just even decipher the dog, right?
Exactly. So, and that's something that happens with dog trainers. You can, and it's something that we offer as dog trainers. Whenever you decide what kind of dog you're going to look for, we can go and help you and choose the right individual from the litter, and have a better dog for whatever you're looking for. Because within the litter, you can have any type of dog in the same breed.
It's interesting you made that point about like we think it looks good in the house, but I think like with society right now, it's like when we see a commercial for a car, they don't talk about engine size, how many valves, how much horsepower, all this stuff. They don't talk about. You have stitched leather. You have a radio with a Boss sound system.
Yeah.
You have a moonroof that you go like this and the roof opens, the doors shut by themselves, you press the button. No one talks about engine and speed and what it's capable of. And I think that's how society is looking at things. It's very materialistic now.
Very materialistic.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Darshan, I want to thank you very much for coming in and spending some time with us. And I appreciate everything you do for us and Katana. And I look forward to her biting you again.
Well, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you trusting us with their training and you being committed to it and you understanding it. That's something that is very important because, as you know, not a lot of people get their dogs and put the time that you have put on them and the investment of everything that has required to get them to where they are. So that's important, and being a good owner of your dog, it's something that I really value so much and I appreciate.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Subliminal. They can call me cocky, but no, I'm original. If they really wanna get it, they can come and get it. I be serving scoops, ayy, on all my loops, ayy. If you're watching Swiss Beatbox, just hit the replay. I be serving scoops, ayy, on all my tunes, ayy. I'm just tripping on this beat. What the fuck about a fee, ayy? By the way, I still do this for the show. Ayy.